In this video, I want to show you how to use formulas efficiently and also review some copying, cutting, and autofill. Alright, so we have this business that works in the same 10 cities every time. So all we have to do, because we've done a custom list, is we put Atlanta in there. And then I have a choice here. I can either drag this and see those cities pop up, but I can double click too. So when I get the white to become a black crosshair, that's the drag handle, I can double click. And it goes down 10 because there's data in the column to the left. Right? So now I need to do the revenue, where the sales are given. And I have these numbers in blue because the things in blue, I'm saying you can change that. And that's kind of a standard way to do things. The things in red, so don't you ever change that. It's not a result of a formula. It is an input, but don't you change it because it's an input that doesn't change. Maybe above your pay grade it does, but not in this spreadsheet. And I put in purple here, and not a lot of people would do this, but I put in purple. Yeah, these are going to change, but not that often. I mean, think about local sales tax rates. They do change, but at most once a year and very rarely, right? Unit sales, they're going to change every quarter, every month, whatever time period you're looking at. The price per unit, I can certainly change that, and I can also, I may want to mess with this and change that to $49.95 to see what the effect of different prices as I'm doing the spreadsheet. Alright, so when I do the revenue, I'm putting a formula in. And by the way, some people make this mistake, and I'll harp on this a lot. They'll click in this formula bar, then they'll start to type. I don't want you to do that. You press escape to get out of that, by the way. I don't care if there's something in there, you don't have to erase that. You don't have to do anything other than you type equal. So to start a formula, you can type equal or minus or plus. Of course, minus will make it negative, right? Plus and equal will do the same thing, but it's cleaner to have it as equal. Don't say 47,000 times 49.95. I mean, that's the right number, but that's not what Excel is for. That makes this a calculator. I'm going to say equal to 47,000 times the price per unit. So if I just do that, that's going to work. Then I can copy this, right? And the fastest way to copy, drag if there's nothing to the left. But since there is data to the left, and it's exactly, I want to go down 10 rows, and there's a data there, I can double click. Alright, so that's obviously not right. Well, what happens, look at this value. I want to see what the formula references were, so I can either look up here visually, or if I can just highlight this and double click and see what it does. It highlights the 40,000 and the unit sales. So it gives you a value because unit sales is not a number. But why did it change? So what happens, there's a difference in absolute and relative cell reference in Excel. So both of these are put in as a relative cell reference. So you have D6 and D2. So when I copied it down, the row stayed the same. The column D stayed the same, but the row changes. It counts up by 1 each time. If I were to copy this over, then see that changes from a D to an E. Copy that down. See how that moves when it's relative? If I copy across, the column changes by 1. If I copy down, the row changes by 1. Well, I want the rows to change by 1 for unit sales, but not for price per unit. So for price per unit, which is D2, I press F4. You can put the dollar sign there manually, or you can just press F4, and that locks down the row and the column. Press F4 again. Since the dollar sign is in front of the 2, that's the row, it only locks down the row. There it just locks down the column. There it doesn't lock down anything. But here I want to stay, I'm not ever going to worry about copying that over. So I just keep it locked down. And now I double click. I want to check and make sure I'm having this work correctly. So I just randomly pick one of these, double click, and look at the cell references, because I want to be 100% sure that my Excel formulas are correct, that the spreadsheet works. So don't just copy, see numbers, and think it works. Go back and double check, and oh yeah, that's working. Now notice what you do when you copy this stuff down. It gets rid of the box there. It gets rid of that outline. That's fine. We'll deal with getting that back later. Okay, so the cost is kind of the same thing, right? I want to have the cost, and that doesn't change. Lock it down, and every time you do this, you have to think about what stays the same, what doesn't. The unit sales will change. Perfect. So I just double click that. Those are in. Let's pick one, check it. Yeah, I'm hitting the right numbers. And note, by the way, the colors, the blue and the red and the blue, so that matches up. And the net proceeds. So let's think about how that net proceeds is done. I'm going to have the revenue minus the cost minus the sales tax. Well, the sales tax is going to be the percentage times the revenue. So do this equal the revenue minus the cost minus the revenue times the sales tax. Now, is there anything in that I want to lock down? No. None of those are absolute references in the sense that the cell reference doesn't change. All of those references change. And so revenue of the Miami minus the cost of Miami minus the, sorry, I had a little thing come up on the, I won't redo this, it's not worth doing it, but sorry for the interruption there. So revenue Miami minus cost of Miami minus the sales tax times that percentage. Alright, so then let's go back, put everything in there, and I can choose what type of bordering I want. I had the thick border, so I keep it with that. Come back over here, again these same 10 cities, and you can see when I'm editing a custom list and adding that in is going to be helpful if I'm doing these same 10 cities all day in different spreadsheets. So I could just come over here. The fast way to do this would be to copy. So the first time, let me just do that because that is faster. You could practice doing the autofill, that's what I was kind of focused on, but I want to copy these because that's quicker than typing the word Atlanta. Well, how do I highlight all those? The best way to highlight what I want to copy, press Shift and then Control down. Shift and Control down, then Control C, come across to here, Control V. Much faster that is than doing it some other way. You have these dancing ants here. To get rid of that, press Escape. We do have that one problem that we copied over that formatting right there, and it's more important, don't tell anybody I said this, it's more important to look good than to be right, so you want to get rid of that first thing. Alright, so I think my virus scanning's up to date, so I'm secure now. Alright, so I want to look at the cost of living index for these different cities, and these are real numbers I got just a couple days ago. I want to say, well, if I'm living in the average city with a cost of living of 100, here's my salary, here's a house, here's the cost of a pizza. I want to see how that should compare to these different cities. Well, what's the formula for that? The first thing in all this is thinking, well, what's the formula, then how do I need to copy it over? Well, it's going to be first equal the base salary times cost of living adjustment, and to put that in percentage, divide by 100. And the reason I want you to repeat this a lot, because if you do this enough, you'll just see what you need to lock down the first time. So I'm going to do it the wrong way. So I'm going to copy this down, double click it down, and look, those are zeros. What's wrong? It's this needed to be referencing that 150. By the way, if it's just one cell you need to change, you can just grab this by left clicking on the mouse, and you can move that wherever you want to be. That's the fastest way to make a change in just one cell. And hit enter. So I got that one right, but what I want to do is that M14, I don't want that to change. So I'm going to do this wrong the first time. So if you see the error, don't say anything. Don't think I don't, just bear with me. So I have this, and now I can copy this down. All those are correct. So that's perfect. Now I can just copy this over, right? And I can't double click that down. I have to do it like this. So let's pick this one. This is completely wrong. I'm referencing the base price of the salary instead of the base price of the house, and I'm not doing the cost of living index, I'm doing the adjusted salary. So that's completely wrong. So what I need to do here to copy this over, when I copy the column, I want the column to change, but when I copy down, I don't want the row to change. So I just keep that as M14. Well, I'm copying the cost of living index. When I'm copying down, I want the row to change, but when I'm copying across, I don't want the column to change. So I press F4 until a dollar sign is in front of the L. And now I have it. Now I can go across. I can go down. I'm looking at this. This needs to be formatted better. The fastest way to do the format, there's some here just kind of standard formats that you want. And note, by the way, I don't have dollar signs in front of any of these. because I know they're all dollars. Some people will say put the dollars in all of them. My argument is there's a lot of clutter. My eye's been drawn to that dollar sign. I don't need my eye drawn to that dollar sign. It's not providing information. So I do the comma format. Alright, so those formulas are alright, but I did that in an extremely slow way. So I want to clear all that and start over. You can right click. You can either hit the clear contents or you can just do Shift N and it clears away. Alright, so when I'm doing this the fastest way possible, it's going to be my base, but I'm going to copy that base over in columns. But I want the rows to stay the same, times the cost of living index, lock down the column and not the row, divide by 100. Now rather than double clicking down, I want to drag that, and I'll show you why. If I double click this down and then drag across, that won't then double click again. So when you're copying to fill something like this space, drag it across, then double click it down, and now we have it. Come back, make it look good, pick the border, and then randomly check to make sure, okay, that's correct. Pick another one, that's correct, and now I feel like all my numbers are right. Alright, so let's do a couple of cut and paste here. I'm going to change this. Instead of copying this one, I'm going to cut this one. So, actually no, let me copy it first. So to copy this, I can do it the slow way when I have my mouse and I just highlight all this. The fastest way to do this, without touching the mouse, and it's important not to touch the mouse if you don't have to, is do Shift, and then you can do Control down, Control arrow key down, and Control arrow key down again, and then arrow key across. And you just have to kind of get used to using the arrow keys there. Now I have all that highlighted. I can do Control C for copy. The one thing that you may think, well, I could do right here, I could do Control Shift 8, but it sees that blank and it doesn't think you want to copy this part of it. If I'm seeing right here and do Control Shift 8, then it picks up the whole thing. So it depends on where your mouse is, what cell is highlighted, what Excel is going to guess you want to copy. So the more you get used to it, you'll know exactly where to put your mouse, what cell to highlight, to be able to copy. So Control Shift 8, got the whole thing. Control C for copy. Go over here, Control V, and now we have everything exactly the same. I'll highlight all of these columns. These are numbers, it's just the column width is not wide enough to show the result. So highlight all the columns, double click there, and it gives me the great match for the column width. There's one issue here. Look at this. This is still referencing D2. So when I copy this, it still referenced D2. I don't want to do that. So you have to be aware of what's going on. If you have something like this where we've locked down the cell reference and you copy it, that locked cell reference is going to stay the same. Note what it did with the net proceeds here. I had nothing locked down there, so all this was wrong too with the cost. So the best way to do this, well, not the best way, but if you cut it, what I want to point out is if I do Control X for cut rather than Control C for copy, see when I copied it, it stayed in the same place, but when I do the cut and move it over here, it eliminates this part of it and it moves the whole thing over here. And when it does that, I didn't mean to put that 0 in there, and when it does that, it moves the cell reference to match where the cut went to. Alright, so I'm going to just undo that, keep that with a copy, and the next one is I want to cut this, so I can do Control Shift 8, but again, see how it didn't pick exactly what I wanted. If I was right here, Control Shift 8 picks what I want. Control X to cut, move it down here to wherever, Control V to copy. Alright, so think of this kind of like playing musical scales again, just going through the practice of that and getting that as quick as possible. If you can do that in just a couple minutes rather than 10 or 15 minutes, think of the time that's going to save you over the course of the day. So that's it for this one.